You're listening to Mortgage Lending Mastery. Get the knowledge you need to advance your mortgage practice quickly and efficiently from Jen Du Plessis, America's Mortgage Mastery mentor with over 37 years of experience and over $1 billion in lifetime fundings. Jen has been mentoring loan officers and realtors for over 15 years and speaking on stages across the globe. So settle in and get ready as Jen and her guests share their experience, passion, and strategies to help you crack the top producer code to reach new heights in your business. And now, here's your host, Jen Du Plessis, Mortgage Mastery Mentor and head chick in charge of Kinetic Spark Consulting.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Mortgage Lending Mastery. I'm your host, Jen Du Plessis. Listen, if this is the first time that you're listening in, thank you so much for joining us today. And of course, as always, if you've been a listener for years and years and years, gosh, we're coming up on 5 years right now. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Each and every time I want to say thank you. I'm filled with gratitude of what everyone is doing to pay this forward, to share it with as many people as they possibly can, so that you have personal and professional growth regardless of what business that you're in. So again, welcome to our show here today. I have a great guest here with us today. And we've been chatting offline before we started. We're having a lot of fun, and we'll probably have him back for my other podcast shortly. So you'll want to listen to that because we'll take a little bit different angle. But today I have Ryan Narus, and Ryan is the owner of Archimedes, right? Did I say it wrong again?
Archimedes.
You know, I got a little trend going here on my podcast that I'm not pronouncing names or businesses properly, and I'm not one to edit. So you get what you get when you get me. But he is the owner of Archimedes Group, which is focused specifically on mobile home parks. Now, to be very clear, it's not on mobile homes. We can talk about those if we dive into that area, but mostly it's mobile home parks. And the reason that I wanted to have Ryan on the show is because, one, it's real estate. Two, it's lending, right? It's all forms of lending. And the third reason is that I'm a firm believer in making sure that you have the best exit strategy from your practice, from your mortgage and real estate practice, so that you have other avenues of income. And this is perhaps one of those avenues of income. So we're going to talk about what he has accomplished in the short time that he's actually been doing this. I'm really impressed with this, Ryan. So welcome to the show.
Jen, I am excited to be here.
Good. Well, I'm glad to have you too. So some funny little facts about you. You used to be a car salesman, so we can handle that in mortgages and real estate, right? We can handle that. I don't want to be like a car salesman. You also wrote a book, but you didn't tell me what's the name of your book? And I know it's not car sales, but
the name of my book is called Car Deal Hacks. And basically, so I went to Wake Forest University. I was a psychology major, and I had the lovely timing of graduating in 2009.
Oh, gosh.
So timed that wonderfully, and really wanted to get into B2B sales. And as you can imagine, at 22 years old with zero experience, right after basically the biggest depression since the Great Depression, and no one was hiring. And so I basically was like, well, I can sit in my mom's basement, twiddle my thumbs, feel sorry for myself, or I can go and sell cars, because my old karate instructor invited me out. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to make the most of it. I didn't go to Wake Forest University to be a car salesman, but I'm not going to sit and feel sorry for myself. So,
yeah. Well, and you wrote a book.
And then 4 years later, I left the car dealership with an amazing education, a bunch of awards to go with it, went back to Wake Forest to get my MBA. And in the process, like you and I were talking offline, I knew a bunch of people for the rest of my life were going to go, well, hey, man, why don't you tell me the secret about how to get the best price at the car dealership?
Right.
So now I have the best excuse ever to basically be like, okay, buddy, I can go, hey, I actually wrote a book. I spare no details, and it's free. If you have to, you can pay me. I use LeanPub, so you can pay me, but I just want to make the car experience easy for folks. So was kind of my thing. I have a handful of folks have paid me for it, but honestly, it's not about that. So my book's called Car Deal Hacks, and I basically take my psych major and my 4 years experience selling almost 1,000 cars, and basically teach you how to buy a car for the best price using psychology.
That's awesome. I love that. I love that. I'm fortunate that my husband is in that world. He's also a mortgage lender. He's been a mortgage lender forever, but he's in the car world too. So I'm fortunate I have someone who can help me. I'm sure he knows the hacks, but I can't wait to tell him about the book. Yeah. And so now also you self-taught, you are self-taught in Spanish. So do you want to say hello to any of those of our listeners that are Spanish speaking? We have over 30,000 of them. So someone's got to be a Spanish speaking person.
Oh, por supuesto. So yo aprendí español hace 10 años de practicar. Es un desastre. Mi acento es también muy cómico, pero la realidad es funciona. So what I basically just said is I learned Spanish. It's been about 10 years of practicing, and my accent's hysterical, but it works. And actually, probably my favorite word to describe my Spanish is bastante, which means enough.
Enough.
It's enough.
It's enough to get by.
Exactly.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, let's jump right into the podcast. So into the details of the podcast. I want to ask you, how did you transpired, that you got into mobile home parks, because here you are imagining, right? I'm imagining, okay, you're out of college, you're 4 years out, you're a young guy, you may or may not be married, and finding, someone in your life. And now, somehow someone came to you and said, hey, did you ever think about buying mobile home parks, right? So tell us how that happened, how that transpired, and where it brought you to where you are today.
So really relevant point. I actually was searching for a mobile home parks.
Oh, wow.
And let me explain what I mean by that. I was looking for the medium with which I could build my lifestyle. Mm-hmm. So like you and I mentioned, or you were mentioning offline, that you like to create a lifestyle and then find a business to fit that lifestyle rather than a business to cram your lifestyle into.
Yeah.
So without having, it would have been wonderful to have you 10 years ago, Jen, but I didn't. So I had to learn all this stuff on my own. Yeah. So basically so I graduated in 2009, started selling cars in 2010. And then I won Honda's highest award in my first full fiscal year, which was 2011. I sold 240 cars. It was in the top 5% or whatever in the country. Wow. And I remember it was a very pivotal moment. It was February of 2012 when we got shipped up to DC, your area. Mm-hmm. I got to stay at the Gaylord Hotel right on the Chesapeake Bay, 5-star hotel, gorgeous. And I remember I accepted my award. I met the district manager guy, and basically he looked at me, shook my hand, and he's like, I'm going to see you next year, right? And in that moment I went, oh yeah, absolutely. Come on. Right. But also that night at 24 years old, I went and got way too drunk on alcohol. I'm willing to admit that, because I think that at the time something didn't feel right, and I was filling a void with alcohol.
Yeah.
And the next day I woke up and I went, why did I do that? And not long after I realized it was because I was completely unsatisfying.
Yeah.
Yes. I devoted my entire life.
But you weren't full. Yeah.
There was no meaning in what I did. There's no purpose. I don't really even like cars, believe it or not. I'm an investment guy, and obviously cars depreciate. So I don't even really, I was sold on Hondas. I wasn't sold on cars. And so there was a disconnect between, like Viktor Frankl says, you need to find the meaning and purpose in your life, and what I was doing. And so I really started to do a lot of self-assessing, like a lot of it, trying to figure out who is Ryan and what does he like and what does he not like, and what is he going to like in 10 years and 20 years and 50 years. And I asked myself a lot of really, really brutally tough questions to answer. Like, is this a sunk cost? Like, did I just waste a year of my life selling all these cars? And it was really tough. I really had to rebuild my self-esteem from scratch. I pretty much so had realized that I had built a self-esteem based on delusion. And everyone's delusional to a certain degree, right? We all tell ourselves we experience 0.0001% of the world and use that sliver of experience to explain the entire world. So we're all delusional, right? But the question is, how close can the stories that you tell yourself match your reality? And for me, I realized it didn't. And so I had to delusion bust, and that was brutal. But in this process, I said, I'm going to learn who I am. I'm going to learn everything I can. I'm going to pick up any book I can read. I'm going to talk to anyone with a pulse. I don't care if you're 12 or 112. I don't care if you're unemployed or you're the CEO of a major company. I want to talk to you, and I want to learn from you. I want to know who you are now, who you were, and who you think you're going to become. And I met thousands of people. I asked them all sorts of questions, and I just learned. And through that process, I realized I was meant to be an entrepreneur. And as soon as I had that clarity of who I was and what I was supposed to be doing, that self-esteem built on a foundation of reality, then it was, oh, this is easy. Now I just got to go out and spend as much time as it takes finding that right opportunity. Yeah. So now that we've got a huge backstory, let's go to the moment of, well, what was mobile home parks? So 3 years after that silly night where I got way too drunk, it was before I met my wife to make sure I'm not being a party animal. I flash forward 3 years later, and I bump into and three businesses, by the way. I started three businesses that basically didn't get anywhere. And I knew I was looking for a company to start. And I bumped into a childhood friend while I was in Miami, Florida, doing a business analytics internship for Carnival Cruise Lines in between my first year and second year of my MBA. And as we were just hanging out, we just stopped in this weird moment, and we went, oh my gosh, we'd be perfect business partners. Mm-hmm. And then we went, okay, well, now it's just a question of what are we going to start?
Business? Yeah.
And we threw out a couple silly ideas, but very early on, like one of the first 5 ideas he threw out, he's like, what about buying mobile home parks?
Right.
And I said, I love the show Trailer Park Boys on Netflix. If it's anything like that, sign me up, because it's hysterical. So that's actually how I found it. And then we did a ton of research, and it took us a little over a year to buy our first one. And then the rest is kind of history.
So now your portfolio consists of 10 mobile home parks, right? Mm-hmm. And what are the sizes of them? What do they range from?
Biggest one we bought was 527 spaces. Smallest one was 25. So all over the map.
Right. And all over the country.
Just southeast. So we're Salisbury, Charlotte, Gaston County, Asheville, Durham.
Okay. Yeah.
Atlanta, Tallahassee, Spartanburg.
Yeah. Okay, good. So down in your neck of the woods. So at least close enough to you and stuff. So, I know one of the things that you like talking about is, people helping people quit their jobs, and not that we want anybody to quit their job right now, but for people to at least plan for the future, right? Plan an exit strategy in their businesses, or supplement their income, by having these various revenue streams, and something that's very important to me. So if someone's listening to this, or a mortgage lender, and they're saying, okay, and it's very habitual for mortgage lenders to be a little skeptic, to say, well, okay, mobile home parks, geez, that's a commercial loan. That's not really what I do. Generally the residential side doesn't do that. How do I get into it? What kind of down payments do I need? I mean, how did you accumulate? Because it's only been 5 years now. So how did you accumulate 10 mobile home parks in a 5-year period? Only having been in business generally for like 7 years.
Yeah, not even that. So actually I started Archimedes Group with Ian in July of 2015. It's now December of 2019. So it's really kind of been like 4.5 years.
Yeah.
I started with nothing. I had no money. I had no network, no experience, and thankfully no excuses. And it all comes down to really one word, Jen, and that word is assumption. And the better you are at making assumptions, the better your underwriting is, the better your decision makings are. Like I mentioned earlier, you have to have a self-esteem built on a foundation of reality, not delusion. Yeah. And as soon as I started getting much better at making assumptions and challenging my assumptions, I realized it comes down to one other word, and that's monetization. Mm-hmm. So in other words, if you have no money, how do you find a way to make money? Right. Well, there's two ways. You can either do something that other people can't do, or do something that other people won't do. So for me, in mobile home parks, what I discovered was there's a lot of hype around buying mobile home parks, but there's effectively no hype around actually operating them and doing the property management.
Yeah.
So I realized, look, there's three aspects to any commercial purchase. You got to have three things. You got to have a willing seller, so someone who goes, all right, I'll sell it to you for a reasonable price. Number two, you got to find a way to get that person their money because they're expecting money in exchange for their asset.
Right.
And then number three is, as soon as you buy it, someone needs to go and collect the rent and make sure there's no vicious dogs and no riffraff going on these properties. So if everybody wants to find the deals, or everyone wants to raise money for the deals, but no one wants to actually operate them, I could pay myself that salary in the budget and quit my job and go full time. Right. So I left a pretty lucrative bank job to take over a 50% haircut and lose all my benefits to go and literally live in one of my mobile home parks for every other week for 14 months in Atlanta while my wife and all my friends were in Charlotte. I made a pretty darn big sacrifice. And oh, by the way, recourse debt over my head. But basically what I had to do was I realized that with my sales background, I could find willing sellers, and you can get acquisition fees for that. So there's monetization there. I can convince people to invest with me. So again, there's a fee involved for syndications. So in other words, at every step of the way, I'm constantly looking, how can I monetize this? And then one last funny, quick little tidbit is if you've ever watched the movie Austin Powers.
Yeah, of course.
There is a fat bad guy who I won't say his name because I like to not say bad words. He has a hilarious line where he goes, in so many words, I'm sad because I eat, and I eat because I'm sad. Yeah. And what I realized, maybe intuitively without being able to enunciate what I was thinking, was that that's exactly what people go through, myself included, who have a side hustle and want to go full time in it. Because this gentleman I sat down with, who was a wannabe full time home flipper, he was picking my brain, and I was like, I don't know how much I can help you. I don't know how to flip homes. I'm a mobile home park guy, and he dropped that line on me, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is one of the best meetings I've had all year, even though I wasn't expecting anything out of this. Right. And he hit me with, I can't go full time flipping homes because I don't have enough deals. And I don't have enough deals because I'm not full time. Right. And I went, oh my gosh, that is exactly what I did. I made a major sacrifice. I took out recourse debt. I went and lived next to little Miss Janice, who's going to complain to me about every little thing, but no one wants to do that. And you can monetize that. Right. I quit my job. I went full time. And I got to tell you, after I quit my job and went full time, I realized I really didn't miss that extra cash flow as much as I thought I would, because I was spending money on things that weren't making me happy. And as soon as I didn't have that money to spend on things that weren't making me happy, all of a sudden I was happy doing the thing I wanted to do the whole time. Which was another flip, just like that. Yeah. And that's, I think that's really important too. I wanted to, and thank you for sharing that story. Oh, yeah. I love all that information. I want to go back to assumptions for a minute, just to make sure that we have clarity about what you mean by assumptions. When you're looking at, buying something this is, and I have to say, there are some mobile homes that the entire mobile home park costs less than a mortgage on a regular house in Washington, D.C. Oh, yeah. There's no doubt about it. But then there are obviously ones that are very, very, very expensive. So when you're talking about assumptions, what assumptions are you talking about? Sure. Are you talking about real assumptions? What if half are rented? What type of, kind of fill me in on what you mean by having assumptions in order to be able to manifest this, a new revenue stream. Absolutely. So there's a great quote that in so many words goes, there's been more fiction written in Microsoft Excel than in Microsoft Word. Mm. And that quote is absolutely brilliant because, like my strategy professor said in my MBA school, this was just such a kick butt moment. He wrote a number on the board. It was like 18-776345558. And it went back like, I don't know, 8 decimal points. And he looked at that and he went, what does this mean? Mm-hmm. And he looks at the class, and of course no one
Everybody's going, oh.
We're like, I don't know. What do you, Rom? What do you
the number
getting
of
at, Mr.
ants on the
Believer?
ground? I don't know. Yeah.
And he goes, you do a fancy dancy pro forma. You spend a week on it. That's the number that gets spit out. What does that number mean?
Yeah. It's
okay. I don't know, Professor Baliga. What does it mean? Well, it means that you are now going to believe that this is true.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this, let me tell you, is just a fancy dancy computer program basically telling you what you programmed it to tell you.
Yeah.
So in other words, garbage in, garbage out. So in other words, the more you understand the underlying asset, the better your assumptions are going to be going into your Excel pro formas, the better results are going to get out. And I'll give you a great example of that. I bought Countryside Mobile Home Park in Spartanburg, South Carolina. It was a 68 lot mobile home park for $625,000, so next to nothing. And as I very well should have, because the property at that time was atrocious. Everything that could have gone wrong was going wrong.
Oh gosh.
And it was a marketed deal that had gone from brokers to the little mom and pop brokers to the word of mouth.
And
like everyone had seen. What was the
issue with the seller? I mean, why was the seller selling?
Seller's actually a friend of mine, and they had like 8,000 mobile home pads. And he told me point blank, when you have an 800 lot opportunity that's not going well, you're not paying attention to your 60 lot opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it made sense why they were selling it and why they were selling it pretty cheap. But the point is, everyone was looking at this. I mean, I've had multiple people over the years be like, oh my gosh, you got Countryside, you paid $625 for it. I could have had it for $550. And the funny thing of it is now that I go, well, why didn't you buy it? Oh, well, it was atrocious. It was this, it was that, it was that.
Yeah.
And the thing was, when I saw that, I went, oh my gosh, this is a major opportunity, because my assumptions were better than the market, who had seen it and went, I don't really want that. What I saw was a awful facade with a rock solid foundation. Mm-hmm. And so the point is, the better you are at making assumptions, the better you are at seeing deals right in front of your face that 99 other people saw and went, no way, Jose. And you were the one out of 100 who rolled up their sleeves and knocked it out of the park. Because I got to tell you, we've just moved in our 64th home. We just moved in our 12th home to get to 64 homes. And we just sold that home today. We've got 63 residents, 1 office. We're full. Wow. And at the time, there were only, I think, give or take 15 paying residents out of 29 residents. So like 14 people hadn't even paid when we closed in the middle of the month. Disaster of a property. We've basically turned an entire property. The point I'm trying to make is, the better you are at making assumptions, the more deals that are in front of your face that you won't miss on.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that quote too. But thank you for clarifying. I wanted to just make sure that was part of it. So how much of your philosophy, your philosophical outlook, are you utilizing to help you win negotiations? I'm curious about that, because you may have said,
Sure.
These are hacks for buying cars, right? And as a consumer, we're thinking, okay, so that's really good. But I imagine you've got some other things up your sleeve on the other side. So how much of that are you using, and has it even been beneficial for you to be able to utilize it? And then lastly, would
Sure.
you recommend that anyone, take classes on this and try to figure out, hey, I need to understand better some negotiating skills. It's not just about the numbers.
Oh, absolutely. So I'm the son of a college professor. I am always going to tell you to go get more education.
Yeah.
So absolutely. Should you go and learn how to negotiate? Yes. 1,000 times yes. I'm so thankful I had that car sales job, because every car sale was a negotiation.
Yeah.
Very seldom does someone walk in and go, yeah, I'll pay that.
Right.
I could probably count on one hand the number of times that happened. Everyone always wants to come in and, you're the scummy car salesman and I'm mad and I'm going to fight you for the best.
Right. And you're not getting the price that's listed there. You got to be crazy. Yeah,
I know your invoice, so you're going to sell it to me for 1,000 below that, right? Every single time it was, I need to take this person because my bonus is tied to my survey. So you buy this car and you're not like Ryan, everything he does turns into gold.
Right.
and rainbows and sunshine and everywhere. If you're not like thoroughly enjoying your experience, I'm not getting my bonus.
Yeah.
So in other words, I had to learn how to negotiate, persuade, market, do operations, make the experience go really fast, under promise and over deliver. I mean, all of the above, and also take really heated people, get a little bit confrontational with them, but bring them to a point where they're walking away extremely happy. I got to tell you, selling cars was by far and away the best education that I could ever have.
Sounds interesting. Yeah, because I imagine that's exactly what you're encountering. I own a mobile home as well, a couple, and and rental. So, it's all negotiation. Every single month is negotiation. You're prepared to negotiate because it's going to happen, right? For those that aren't paying, it's going to be a negotiation of what day can you pay? And then how can we work on this? And, and I think, just in the confines of actual managing it, it's that same way, in as much as it is in negotiating the actual deal. So when you think about, the properties that you have now, tell us about the best deal. And maybe that was the one you just told me about, but tell me about the best deal that you got.
I mean, it's really hard to pick one because each one has its own unique triumph and shortcoming and thing I've had to overcome. But just because we're talking about Countryside, we can stick with it. The one beautiful thing about Countryside is it had 52 homes on 68 zone lots. And 3 of those lots aren't even viable. So really 65 lots. Had 29 residents, had a rent roll of $10,000. And on the 15th of February, when we closed, there was delinquency of $10,000. So, I mean, you're talking serious collections issues.
Yeah.
You were talking tens of thousands in rehabs.
And you were getting your local tow guy in there just to make the noise at night.
Oh, it was, so a close friend of mine from college, she's the assistant to the district attorney in Spartanburg County, South Carolina. And so I had lunch with her and I was like, hey, here's this address. What do you think? And in so many words, she was like, that's I know the narcotics department guys, they're on that street all the time. I'm just like, oh no, right? And then there's infrastructure issues and there's all this stuff. So it's been almost 2 years since we bought that property. We have we're only down to, I think, about 14 of the original 29 people that were there are left. And we've fixed homes. We've installed a playground. We did new mailboxes. We've repaved roads. We've fixed infrastructure. We've brought in about 14 new homes. Is that right? 12 new homes. Right, because we're at 64, at 52, 12 new homes.
Yeah.
A lot of work. And one big thing that I was really, really proud of was that we tapped into the Hispanic market. So truth is, you can say all you want. Well, you come to my country, you learn my language. Yeah, you can say that all you want, but let me tell you something. These people are coming here legally and illegally, and they have money and they are looking to spend it. And if you can go and teach yourself their language, you can serve them.
Yeah.
And then you can make money from them, with them. And I got to tell you, I got a lot of friends in the mobile home park space who are like, oh man, I can't find good contractors. Great, go learn Spanish. You know why? Because for the most part, when you find one that are legal, and you need to make sure that they are legal and they're not breaking the law, but you find them, and a lot of them are completely legal, born in the United States, and for whatever reason, just never learned English.
Yeah.
And you can go and meet these people if you go to the local restaurantes and iglesias and hand out flyers and meet the sacerdotes and the maestras.
Well, even in your mobile home park for you, you could find many of them that are living there that, are looking for side jobs too, side hustles, and they could be the maintenance guy for you and all that. So how many of your slabs, we'll call them slabs so that people understand what we're talking about, right? How many of your lots have you converted into storage when they're vacant like that? Have you thought about converting any of them into storage?
We have. So we've offered on more than one property that had self-storage in it, and we've looked at storage. The one thing that we've realized, however, is the more complicated you make your business, the more tricky it gets. And so what we actually do is we take vacant land and we give back with it. So actually on my website, I have a whole video series where I talk about things you can do with your vacant land. And you can do things like free food giveaways, install playgrounds, put up soccer goals, basketball, all sorts of stuff to get kids outside and doing things besides watching a TV screen, right? We've done little mini concerts. We've paired up with the local churches to do little mini concerts. There's Zumba classes. We've done Zumba classes. We constantly look for ways to give value to our residents. And the reason being is if you're here, you are paying and you are following my rules, I have every reason in the world to keep you as happy as possible and keep you here, because turnover is expensive and risky.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I love that. I love that you're doing that as well. I mean, that's, and that brings me to one of the things that you were talking about earlier too. And I was trying to find your comments on it, but, about being able to chase your dreams and get back to charity and do those things. So, that you're doing obviously in the confines of your mobile home parks, but what are you doing outside of that? Where is that joy for you now in being able to give back to other communities or other foundations and associations? And have you established your own?
Yeah, so I'm kind of a jack of all trades, master of none with charity. And what I've discovered over the years of trying to help charity is that if you can pick one and do it really, really well, it's better than doing 8 million things and see what sticks. And I'll give you a good, for example, I started a partial college scholarship for the residents in my community. Oh. And it was the most amazing thing writing the first application, the first acceptance letter to an application that I did earlier this year. It was probably one of my favorite moments of 2019.
Oh. That is awesome.
That being said, next to no one took me up on that.
What?
I know. And it's mind-boggling to me. We also offer to pay for college scholarship, college applications, right? Because college app is, $100, however much. Right. If your lot rent's $300 and your kid wants to apply to 3 schools, that's $300. That's literally your rent for the month.
That's a rent for a month. Yeah. Yeah.
We have offered that, and we have yet to have anyone take us up on it.
Wow, I wonder why that is.
And we've got a bunch of people we want to partner up with to do financial literacy, free financial literacy classes. But I think the thing that I've realized the hard way is that the most popular event that we've ever done has been a free food giveaway. And I think the thing is, again, it comes back to assumptions, right? So you assume as someone that is like a middle-class person like myself, that if you were in a situation where you needed affordable housing, you would be fighting every day to escape that need, right? You'd want to get back up to the middle class.
Yeah.
And how you would do that is things like a college education.
Right.
But the thing is, you think differently.
Yeah.
And because you think differently, you make assumptions differently.
Yeah.
You assume that they want certain things that they don't. And so we found that free food giveaways have by far and away been the best. And the stories you get out of that are just amazing. And when you meet these folks face to face, whether they speak English or Spanish, the stories and the relationships you make are just absolutely otherworldly. And it makes really tough days, which I experience all the time, really bearable, because I know I'm doing things like partnering with Paylease, so people can literally build their credit while they pay rent.
Yeah.
Think about that. Mm-hmm. If you've ever rented from someone or an apartment complex, every rent pay, it's not like a mortgage where it builds your credit every time you pay your mortgage.
Right. And
to literally
tax return. Or can't
help build your credit. So literally, was it yesterday or the day before yesterday? One of my residents, Pablo, came to my office, and his English is not so great. And so I helped him set up his Paylease account. And it's like $3 every time you pay using a bank account through Paylease. And I helped him set up the credit builder. We enter in the Social Security and all that stuff. And I set it up for him, and now he can build his credit. And he came to me because he couldn't navigate it because there's unfortunately not a Spanish option that I know of. So it's like those moments are so amazing.
Yeah.
And so if you're, one big reason why, so I'm not selling anything, I'm not raising any funds. The reason why I wanted to come on and speak with you, Jen, is to help inspire others to find that for for them in their lives.
Yeah.
Because
Whatever that is that makes them feel good. Yeah. And it's funny about
right.
people in mobile home parks, because I think a lot of people think trailer trash and, all that, but it really is more of a community than it is with apartments. They prefer to live in mobile homes than they do apartments, which I think was very shocking for me to hear that, that was really just more important. I'd rather be in a mobile home than I am in an apartment building. So that said, what's going on with the market right now with mobile home parks in the United States? If we have a shortage of housing, is it saturated? Is it oversaturated in that if someone said, gosh, I really like listening to what Ryan had to say, I'd like to learn more. Is it oversaturated? Is it something that we're making an assumption? I'm doing air quotes, everybody. Is it something that we're making an assumption is oversaturated? And so he goes, so I'm not going to do it when I could be making an assumption that there is a lot of opportunity still left.
So I want to first and foremost say, is it oversaturated? Absolutely. That being said, do not use that as an excuse not to go and look and see if it is a good fit for you. And the reason why I say that is, if you ever read the book Blue Ocean.
Yep. Blue Ocean Strategy.
Everyone wants to chase a blue ocean, but the one thing that a red ocean provides you is that there's a market there.
Yeah.
So is it oversaturated? Do I get outbidded all the time on properties? Yes. Oh my goodness. People are overpaying left and right for things, especially at the peak of a cycle and the peak of an economy that's primed for a recession at some point, right?
Yep. Right now.
Is it oversaturated? Yes. But here's the thing. If you self-assess like I did hard, and you know who you are at heart and what's going to make you happy, don't use that as an excuse not to go and chase your dreams. If anything, be excited that there's a strong market for it. But the thing about affordable housing right now is there's an extremely low supply and there's an extremely high demand. So it is a very difficult product to do wrong if you are a student of the game, if you are learning, if you are coachable, if you're willing to make mistakes, if you're willing to risk your own money. It is a wonderful time right now to be an owner. And if you want to know more about mobile home parks, I have my podcast is Mobile Home Parks in Real Life. And I stress the in real life portion. I strip out the hype story. And I tell you the really good, the bad, and the ugly about the industry. And the reason why is because we have been plagued with slumlords. And if I can help combat the wannabe slumlords and dissuade them from coming into the space because we're subjected to these ridiculous hype stories where, it's easy, it's lucrative, and no one's doing it, and it's really an easy, thing to get involved with. Like, what does a slumlord want? They want high returns and no work, right? Yeah. So if I can be a quote unquote thought leader and expect nothing in return, give away all my secrets for free, but in exchange, I am helping shape the way people think about these so I can dissuade slumlords and invite and give like good people who want to own mobile home parks the tools they need to be successful to help me fight slumlords. Sign me up. I don't need a penny in return.
Right. I love it. I love it. So the name of the podcast again is Mobile Home Parks in Real Life.
That's it.
Okay. So I just want to make sure everybody got that, really well. And so when you think back on everything that's gone on, what is the biggest lesson you've learned? And it doesn't have to be negative. It can be positive too. What's the biggest lesson that you have learned, over these last 4.5 years or so, as you have now embarked in some new avenues? Because I want people to, be listening and saying, I do want to have an exit strategy at some point in my career. Maybe they're starting and it'll be 30 years from now, like it was for me. But maybe they're at the end of it and they're, saying, I don't know, if I want to do maybe not mobile homes, but anything, right? And they're concerned about taking that risk. What's the biggest thing you've learned over the last 4 years that you could share with people?
Besides the assumptions piece that I talked earlier, if you don't love it, you're going to quit.
Yeah.
Do not delude yourself. You will quit. You need to know yourself extremely well to know what you will enjoy today and tomorrow.
Yeah.
If you do not love it, you are going to quit. Like The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F by Mark Manson. He says in so many words, no matter what lot you get in life, there's going to be a pile of crap that you're going to have to deal with. But the good news is you get to pick what pile of crap you get to deal with. I could tell you, we could do multiple episodes on the ridiculous things have to go through, from having my life threatened to checking the wrong box and having the IRS harass me, to all sorts of people asking for money, all the ridiculous things that I have to deal with. But here's the thing. I absolutely thoroughly love what I do. And I feel like I have meaning and purpose in what I do. So it's more than just about me getting a paycheck or me getting money or me getting to escape my job. It is, I have a goal that is bigger than me. And I absolutely love what I do. So that is by far and away. And I look back on my life, because I've tried a lot of things. Like I got my black belt in Haitian Ryu Karate, and my goal was to get a black belt. And as soon as I got my black belt, I'm pretty confident I never went to a class again after I got my black belt. Right. And the reason why is because I'm an overachiever, right? I set a goal, and as soon as I hit the goal, I was done. There's nothing else to do. And and I didn't really truly love it to the point where I'd get my 3rd degree black belt, my 5th degree black belt, right? So it's the same thing with starting a business. If you're chasing it because you hate your job, you're chasing it for the wrong reason.
Oh, yeah.
You need to be chasing it because you love it. And it took me years to find my mobile home parks. It's going to take you years if you haven't already found what it is that you love, audience.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, it is the best thing in the world to know the answer to what do I want to be when I grow up? Yeah. And the answer is whatever you truly love.
Yeah. And I love that you're talking about this, because one of my coaches, Steve Olsher, just wrote a book called What is Your What? And it's a great, great book. And I have a gazillion copies of it now because I keep getting them. I don't know how it happens, but anyway, I have all these copies of them. But he talks about the difference between, your why, because everyone talks about, you have to know what your why is. And he's a believer that you choose your why, but you don't choose your what. It's in your DNA. Your what is in your DNA. And it's not passion, because my passion is dancing, but I can't necessarily make money doing dancing. Right? For me, I can't make money doing dancing. So it's not what is my passion. It's what is my what? What is the thing that just comes very, very easy to me, right? And I absolutely love it. And, it sort of gets back to the hedgehog theory of, do what you love to do what you're excellent at, and do what can, financially sustain you or is financially makes sense for you, and it has to, all 3 of those legs have to happen. And if one's missing them, it all falls apart. So I think that's a great thing to talk about as well. So I want to ask you just real quickly, what book are you reading now? And or if you are, or listening to, and what is your favorite quote that you would like to leave with the listeners?
Oh boy. I am just about to finish up Extreme Ownership, a fantastic book about responsibility.
Awesome.
And
who's that by? Do you know? Extreme
It's
Ownership?
by a group of Navy SEALs.
Oh, yes. I know what that is. Yep. I think I have it behind me.
Awesome book. And I'm also reading Ray Dalio's Principles, which is just awesome. Oh my gosh, I love that. I think I'm about halfway done with that one. So I'm listening to that, reading that. Ooh, and what book am I also reading? Hold on. It's sitting right next to me because I am a new dad. I am reading What to Do. I don't know if you can hear it, but my little 4-month-old is crying in the background. So a bunch of things. And I think the overarching point there is I'm a son of a college professor, like I mentioned earlier. I'm always going to be pro learning, but I'm always trying to learn, and I will probably learn something on the day that I pass away one day, inevitably. So I'm a life learner as well. Okay. What's a favorite quote of yours? So I've given some of my favorite quotes so far today, but probably my all-time favorite quote is from Oscar Wilde, where he says, if you want to tell someone the truth, make them laugh. Otherwise, they'll kill you. I absolutely love that quote, and I'll tell you why. It's because one beautiful thing that the book Extreme Ownership talks about is you want to take 100% of responsibility for everything. The reason being is because you want to eliminate the need for people to have their ego get in the way of decision making. And the beautiful thing about Oscar Wilde is the beautiful thing about humor is you can tell people some really deep, dark, awful things about themselves that they may or may not know. But guess what? It's not so bad because it's funny. And so in other words, as a psychology major in undergrad and someone who's obsessed with it, psychology, that is, the quicker you can circumvent the delusions and stories we tell ourselves and get to the truth so you can build on a foundation of reality, the better. And humor is a magical tool in your toolbox to achieve that.
I love it. I love it. So we'll leave it on that note, but hopefully everybody's laughing. I don't know, but it's good. And I do think it's important, not to take everything so serious. I think that's something as well, that I've always said is, look, I'm not going to take myself that seriously. And, I'm goofy and I screw up names, and that's okay. And I think that it becomes one of the reasons why people don't take risk, and one of the reasons why people, choose to stay in their careers forever and ever and don't have a side hustle and a plan for exiting. And again, everyone, you've all been listening for 5 years. I'm definitely not telling you to leave your business, because just as you were explaining, Ryan, about the love of what you're doing, I had that love, for the mortgage business as well. That at least, yes, I had problems and I dealt with stuff I didn't want to deal with, but at least I was in that business, in a business that I knew was serving people and getting them homes. And, and so that stayed with me for 35 years. That's a long time to be doing one thing. So definitely not saying doing that, but I'm saying just get yourself prepared so that when the time comes, you can do it on your terms, not on someone else's terms, and learn as much as you can. So I really appreciate you sharing what you've done with your career and with your love and what what is your what, and sharing it with us. So if anyone wants to get a hold of you, what is the best way for them to reach you if they want to explore a little bit more about what you've talked about today?
Absolutely. And like I mentioned earlier, I am not selling anything. I'm not raising any money. I am here to inspire you. So then you, like me, will go out and help make the world a better place. What I want to what my life goal is to make the world better because I was in it for the brief time that I was here. So I am, like Tupac said, I ain't hard to find. To my knowledge, I am the only Ryan Narus in the world.
Oh, good.
So,
well, thank goodness. So that'll be easy. So it's Narus. Yeah.
Literally just Narus. LinkedIn is by far and away the best place to reach me. Set up a time. We'll set up a call. If you're in the Charlotte, North Carolina area, reach out to me. We'll grab a cup of coffee. I don't care if you never give me anything. If I can help you, and then you will go out and help others, sign me up. I don't need a thing in return.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much. What a great gift to our audience. Hopefully everyone realizes how wonderful that is. So I want to again say thank you, Ryan, for joining us today and giving us as much wisdom as you possibly can in this particular realm and the time frame that we had here today. It was definitely worth the time. And I know I got several nuggets out of it. I've been taking notes copiously and writing notes about questions, but I've been taking some really great notes. So thank you so much for your time. I sure appreciate it.
I was honored to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Mortgage Lending Mastery. Be sure to subscribe to hear more sales tips, ideas, strategies, and tactics to help you with your personal and professional growth to multiply your results in record time. And if you like what we're doing, don't forget to give us a rating and review so we can continue to bring you the best content possible. Wanting more beyond the podcast? Join our Mortgage Lending Mastery membership community, where you will find extended interviews with our favorite guests, weekly training, tips, and insider secrets, fireside chats with Jen, free content, meet, share, and collaborate with other members, and so much more. Click the link in the show notes to learn more about this exclusive content. Mortgage Lending Mastery is an Industry Syndicate charter podcast. Industry Syndicate is the first podcast network specifically for the mortgage and real estate industries. Get the Industry Syndicate app in the App Store or Google Play today.